If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance.
That's right. You're at Infowars, and it's the War Room with your co-host, Roger Stone. And in the co-pilot's chair, my colleague, Owen Schroyer. Joining us now is the hardest working investigative reporter in America today, Dr. Jerome Corsi, who's written a number of New York Times bestsellers and is one of the most intrepid, dogged investigative reporters in America. And it happens also, fortunately, to be the Washington bureau chief of Infowars, joins us now. Dr. Corsi, welcome to the War Room.
Great to be with you, Roger and Owen. Good to see you both. Thank you.
So, you have been a shrewd Washington observer for a long time. Jack Kennedy was a personal friend of yours. Your father was big in the union movement. You knew Dick Nixon in the day. You've seen presidents come and go. You were in Washington during Watergate. Tell us your assessment of the Mueller investigation, the developments over the last 24 to 48 hours, where the president seems to have woken up to what Mr. Mueller's game plan is.
Well, Roger, I think we're seeing a real shift in attitude from President Trump, who's appreciating the conflicts of interest that are in the Mueller investigation, which I think really necessitate that Mueller's investigation be stopped. My new book, Killing the Deep State, which is out, and by the way, Infowars is going to be carrying the book starting later this week. Infowars is going to be a good source for getting the word out that, in my book, I think I've got some shocking information that basically Mueller's whole approach was to create a coup d'etat. He was the final act of the Obama-Clinton coup d'etat, which was supposed to deny the presidency to Barack Obama. And as the book points out, I think Donald Trump has got to take some decisive action and is starting to take some decisive action to call this to the attention of the people of the United States and to put an end to this fraudulent investigation that Mueller has calculated will be the end of Trump's presidency one way or the other through finding enough evidence or creating charges, whether there's evidence or not, that would lead to impeachment.
Yeah, it looks to me like the game plan here is for the special counsel to issue his report perhaps in September, giving the Democrats something to run on in October, since they have no program to revitalize the economy, no program to address the trade deficit, no plan to make our country more secure and safer through immigration reform. They really are running on one concept. We hate Donald Trump. That's their slogan. That's their platform. I honestly think if Republicans run on jobs and prosperity and the Democrats run on impeachment, they will be making an extraordinary mistake, particularly if the president gets a breakthrough in Korea, which I believe is extremely likely.
Well, Donald Trump is doing the right thing in terms of continuing to advance policy and make gains, tax cuts, trade gains. I think his speech today on dealing with big pharmacy and all of this opioids crisis was very effective. But you got to remember the Democrats are out for blood here. The Democrats really have, as you point out, Roger, zero strategy. And, it was shocking to me in writing this whole killing the deep state that the liars, the Democrats, the entrenched political operatives within the CIA, the Department of Justice, and the FBI were willing to lie before Congress, advance this Fusion GPS dossier, which the Department of Justice could never validate or authenticate any of the information in it, and yet they used it to obtain electronic surveillance of the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, and the Trump presidency through at least 6 months of the White House. And as I point out in the book, the real danger to Donald Trump is that over time, the American people begin to believe this narrative, and the mainstream media is mouthpiecing the narrative every day. Trump has got to continue effectively undermining the credibility of the Department of Justice deep state operatives. And I think this whole, exposing McCabe for the lying he did and for the leaking that he did, and then firing him at the suggestion of the Inspector General, Department of Justice, was a very effective step. Donald Trump's got to continue this to make it clear. Jeff Sessions is investigating. There are criminal investigations ongoing, and more than one person like McCabe have to be exposed. The quicker, the better.
It'll be very interesting to see if Mr. McCabe is, of course, prosecuted. We know that he was forced to resign or resigned because he had no choice. It's also interesting to me that Jeff Sessions seems to be the sticking point on all of this, whether it is the IRS abuses under Barack Obama, whether it is the abuses in the Clinton Foundation, whether it's the formulation of the dossier. It is extraordinary that all bucks seem to stop with Sessions. Now, I know there are some who believe that Jeff Sessions has a secret plan, and one day all the president's enemies are going to be swept up and arrested. I wish that were true. I see no evidence of it. Rod Rosenstein was himself one of those who signed off on the use of the dossier as the underlying legal rationale for the wholesale surveillance of the candidate of the Republican Party for President of the United States. Surely that act alone would merit dismissal. The sooner the president does what he did at the State Department, does what I think he's going to do shortly at NSA, clean house. He needs to clean house at the FBI. He needs to clean house at the Justice Department.
I agree, Roger. One of the reasons I wrote this book, Killing the Deep State, was to expose that the smoking gun evidence of this, what I charge as a coup d'etat, to deny Donald Trump the right to be president despite winning the election, it lies at the heart of the FBI. And with McCabe's firing, we're only at the first level. Remember, McCabe was the person who altered Peter Strzok in the FBI, his interview report with General Flynn. Initially, then Comey, head of the FBI, said there was no lying by General Flynn. Suddenly, McCabe and Strzok get together. They alter the 302, which is the report of the interrogation of Flynn, and suddenly Flynn is charged with lying to the FBI. Now, if that isn't, the creation of evidence, and then we find out that Strzok and this Lisa Page exchanged text messages where they're cozy with the judge, this Contreras, who is both a FISA court judge and the judge assigned to General Flynn's case. And they're trying to get together with him at a cocktail party to influence him. Now, if this isn't an entire misuse of prosecutorial authority and complete abuse of the FBI's power, which, I think is shocking and possibly even treasonous because it was in the advancing of a plot to keep Donald Trump from being president or to remove him from the presidency, these kinds of smoking guns within the FBI are really the reason Donald Trump needs to say, I'm cleaning out the FBI now, and have massive firings, which perhaps could start at Jeff Sessions. If Jeff Sessions is not really willing to play the game, Jeff Sessions probably ought to go and let somebody get there as Attorney General who would do the job of cleaning up house.
I really don't understand the attitude of liberals. Liberals have traditionally cared about our civil liberties, but they seem to be missing in action. And the adage that no person is above the law, well, it doesn't appear to be true. We'll be back with Dr. Jerome Corsi on the other side. You're at the War Room. Welcome back. You're on the War Room with Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer. And joining us is our Washington Bureau Chief, Dr. Jerome Corsi. Dr. Corsi, tell us about your new book and how people can get it. I got the copy you sent me, and I must tell you, it's really excellent. I am zipping through it. You really nail the situation in Washington.
Well, thank you, Roger. The book "Killing the Deep State," I make a compelling case that Barack Obama is still the wizard behind the scenes. He's out to destroy Donald Trump, and he has a couple of key operatives within the Justice Department, within the CIA, that are working day and night to destroy President Trump. And I've found that it's no surprise that just as my book is being released, FBI Director Comey has his book coming out, and the press are all flocking to report his allegations, his lying allegations. I'm sure he's going to make himself the hero of a story in which ignore the fact that he did not and pushed the Hillary Clinton investigation to the point of criminal prosecution. They changed his narrative according to the way that Loretta Lynch at the FBI wanted him to change, at the Department of Justice wanted him to change the narrative against Hillary to say it was only a matter, not a criminal investigation. So I'm still fighting it. I've been banned by all the major networks. We can't get on ABC, NBC, CBS. The narrative is blocked because I think they're afraid of my book killing the deep state. But I'm very grateful that we have Infowars and Alex Jones and your show with Owen, because we need to get this word out. The word is that there has been a coup d'etat attempt to remove Donald Trump from the presidency, and Donald Trump needs to fight back in order to save the presidency, and the danger is not yet done. It's only intensifying, I think, as Mueller feels there are threats to remove him from office as special counselor.
Well, perhaps some in the mainstream media remember that it was Dr. Jerry Corsi who almost single-handedly destroyed the candidacy of John Kerry. Big news this past week, that is that the children of John Kerry, a daughter, and the sons of Vice President Joe Biden, scored a very rich Chinese investment deal only days after Kerry and Biden visited China. Can you say corruption?
All right. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It was so patently obvious. But, when people read my book, they're going to be surprised at the deep connections in this Democratic cabal. George Soros, the others, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and even Robert Mueller, who ties into their schemes, having covered up for the Clintons back to Whitewater, the HSBC investigation. Mueller is part of this deep state cabal, and Barack Obama is the wizard behind the scenes, pulling the levers, with his house, his mansion over there in D.C. and Valerie Jarrett, still trying to undermine the Trump presidency. The killing the deep state is about just that. We've got to root this out, and Donald Trump has got to take decisive action to get these political operatives who are absolutely leftist, New World Order extremists out of the Justice Department, out of the FBI, and out of the CIA and NSA. And Donald Trump's got to act fast, or this deep state cabal will succeed in removing him from office.
Dr. Corsi, what was your opinion of the replacement of Rex Tillerson with Mike Pompeo at State, and the elevation of Gina Haspel at the CIA?
Well, I think Tillerson was never on board with the Trump train. Tillerson was always a Exxon type of executive. He was a globalist. He wanted the free trade international agreements, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and he opposed many of the foreign policy initiatives that Donald Trump has been advocating. I think that Pompeo, his coming over to the State Department, means that Iran is next, because Tillerson had been supporting this Iran decision that John Kerry made, this negotiation, and Pompeo has been opposed to it. Now, what Donald Trump's got to do to make sure this continues to have a chance to work is take care of the first and most compelling threat, and that is Robert Mueller is still special prosecutor. Barack Obama is still the wizard behind the screen pulling the levers, and you've still got a mainstream media that will not cover my book, Killing the Deep State, will advance Comey's lying book about his glory days at the FBI, freeing Hillary Clinton from any fault with her email system. So I think I'm making a compelling case. I think one of the reasons that the deep state and the mainstream media are so afraid of my book is that when people read it, their eyes are going to be open to the danger Donald Trump is still facing and how he's got to fight this propaganda campaign and win it, or the Democrats will continue right up until the midterm elections to press the issue, to indict him just before the midterm elections, get control of the House of Representatives, and begin impeachment hearings.
I have never seen this kind of fake news at this level ever before. The Washington Post writes a story on the basis of two anonymous sources who offer no collaboration, claiming that I told them that I was meeting with Julian Assange in 2016. Easily unprovable based on customs records, my passport record, airline records, surveillance cameras at the Ecuadorian embassy, and so on. But then what happens, like a flock of birds jumping off the telephone wire, you have Salon and Slate and Huffington Post and Mother Jones jumping on board, claiming that this is some stunning inconsistency in my testimony. Let me be clear for the 100th time. My testimony before the House Intelligence Committee was completely truthful. My submissions to the committee prove I had no collaboration with WikiLeaks. They are now trying to reinflate this phony Russian collusion, believing that it runs through Assange. Here's how it works. Margaret Carlson wrote it for the Daily Beast. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks gave Roger Stone Hillary Clinton's hacked emails. Stone gave them to Trump and the Trump campaign. That's why the president came out and said, Russia, if you've got these emails, release them. It's a great narrative. The problem is none of it ever really happened. None of it. Extraordinary.
Well, in fact, I can attest. I mean, it is completely outrageous how the mainstream media invents lies like they did in your case, or they're going to do when Comey's book comes out, and they're going to tell the great tale of how James Comey was fired because he was going to go after President Trump. Comey was fired because he was incompetent. He was a operative of the deep state, and he let Hillary Clinton go from obvious crimes. Your case, Roger, I mean, I can attest to it. I was working with you in this period of time, and I wrote the memos for you that showed out of the Panama Papers how, in fact, Podesta and the others were going to be the next targets, because it was clear that Hillary Clinton and John Podesta were on the take with Russia. I mean, being paid millions of dollars by Russia.
What's interesting, of course, is my actual tweet, my celebrated, now iconic tweet said, right, the Podesta's time in the barrel, meaning John and Tony, because their business was exposed, as you pointed out to me, in the Panama Papers, all from public sources. But that gets truncated to Roger Stone predicted the hacking of John Podesta's email. No, I didn't. I didn't say anything about John Podesta. I said the Podestas. But that gets shortened in the mainstream media to, quote, Podestas with an apostrophe where no apostrophe existed. Extraordinary. This is how the fake news works.
It isn't, I think, why at the core I won't get interviews. You know, even with Fox is having it. You know, I want to get the story out of this killing of the deep state. Because, you know, I've got 20 pages of footnotes. Like all my work, it's very thoroughly footnoted. And it's chapter and verse of how this cabal planned this coup d'etat from in the heart of the Department of Justice and the FBI, with memos now coming out that document this Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and McCabe, Rosenstein. I mean, there's dozens of them. I mean, you know, even this Orr's wife, who was working for Fusion GPS, and the FBI knew they could not validate any of the claims. They still used it to get the FISA court approval for electronic surveillance of Trump's campaign. I mean, killing the deep state, when people read it, they're going to be shocked at how much evidence there is that a coup d'etat was underway, and we probably are going to need military tribunals to bring Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama to justice for treason.
All right, that's going to have to wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us on The War Room.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Nourish a probiotic-friendly environment in your gut with Prebiotic Fiber by Infowar Life. Help the good bacteria thrive and support overall digestive health with our specially formulated prebiotic fiber, a mixture of clinically studied and organic acacia, fruit, and flax fiber. Prebiotic fiber is soluble fiber that ferments in the gut to help feed good bacteria, which helps you digest food, absorb nutrients, and even supports your immune system. Infowar Life's cutting-edge formula only brings you the highest quality, organic, and clinically studied ingredients. Cheap prebiotic fibers are used up only at the beginning of the colon, but our premium organic acacia fiber is slowly digested by the good bacteria throughout the entire colon for maximum prebiotic effect. Head to InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.